Welcome to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Your hosts are two girls who believe that life is awesome, that laughter heals, and that it's possible to find deep spiritual insights in everyday experience.
Here come the girls. It's more than practical. Here come the girls. Way more than merely factual. If you want to know the secrets of a life that's free, listen to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Listen to Girls Behaving Metaphysically.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
We are those girls behaving metaphysically. I am Robyn Olmsted.
And I'm Dr. Natasha Wilson. How are you today? And I'm hoping everybody can join us. Well, I know this is pre-recorded, but I'm hoping people can still join on all the social media places, right? So that's Facebook, I think Instagram. I'm still not sure about Instagram, but definitely YouTube. Not Instagram. So not Instagram, but definitely YouTube and definitely the New Thought Media Network. So I hope you can join us there. How you doing, Robyn?
I'm doing good. I am doing good. How about you?
Yeah, I'm good. It's the beginning of the week here. So unlike when we normally see each other, which is like midweek. So yeah, but I'm good.
Good. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, I am in California in the United States, and Natasha is on the other side of the world in Queensland, Australia. So we are two girls behaving metaphysically in two different parts of the world. So that's what we do.
Yeah.
So we're so happy to be with you, and glad you can join us. And as Natasha said, many places you can join us. Wherever you go, please like us. And
that's right.
Let us know that you've been there, because we'd love to hear what you're thinking or what you'd like to see on the show. And for those of you who don't know, we generally start this show by pulling a card, because what else do metaphysical girls do? You know, we've got to check in with our angel cards, our tarot cards, our power of now cards, our whatever we have that makes us, that feels like inspiration.
Yes, and today we are pulling an oracle card. Well, it's the same.
Wait a minute.
What?
Wait a minute. I couldn't take it. I couldn't stand it. All of my cards are in New Mexico at my new house, and I'm in California. But I found some. I found cards, and I bought another deck of cards, so I'm pulling.
Okay, so do you want to pull the card today?
Yeah,
then?
I do.
Okay, you pull the card.
Okay, so we can pick from the Sacred Travel Oracle cards. Which are these? How do you do it?
It's blurred.
I know. How come yours wasn't?
Because I don't have the background fuzzy thing, you know.
That's right. So if I put them right here, though, they should show up. Oh, well.
They're still fuzzy.
Anyway, fuzzy as they are, they're very pretty. Or you could pick the Dr. Wayne Dyer Inner Peace cards. What's your pleasure, Missy?
Well, I don't know. I was about to say, I don't really have anywhere to travel, although my new Australian passport came last week. So pick the travel card.
So for those of you who don't know, Natasha is from New Orleans. And
New Orleans. Okay, go ahead.
She's from the United States, and she moved to Australia and has become a citizen. So it's much cause for celebration.
Yes.
All right.
I have my passport. Let's go.
Okay, tell me when to pull. Okay.
Okay, pull.
All right. So this one says, begin now. Take your first step. Begin now. Take your first step. What does that bring up for you?
I don't know. Let me sit with it. I have to sit with it. I'm not that snappy. I don't think very fast on my feet.
All right. Well,
Why don't you go first?
well, I could do that. Or, we could just take a moment. Why doesn't everybody think about that? And why don't we take a break? I know it's early, but there's no time and space. So, why don't we take a break, sit with it, and see what happens when we come back? And I'll read you a little bit about it when we come back as well. So,
that might be helpful. Yeah.
but I think we should go with our gut first and then read. Just my thought.
Okay, I don't know, but this thumb keeps popping up on my screen and my hands aren't doing anything. Do you see that?
I did.
So I don't know if it's saying yes, go with our gut, because this is clearly the artificial intelligence speaking right now. So,
but if it's the artificial intelligence speaking, but who's the one listening?
Robyn, okay, you do want to get deep right away. Okay.
All right. So we may answer those questions when we come back. We may not, but we will talk about begin now and what that means. All right. Right.
Sounds good.
So don't go away. It's a quick break, and then we'll be right back here on New Thought Media Network.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
People of African Descent New Thought Group proudly presents Celebrating Our Soul, Consciously Creating Change at Unity Village, Thursday, August 1st through Sunday, August 4th. Some of our greatest keynote speakers, some of our finest musicians and vocalists, some of our amazing and experienced panelists, and some of our fabulous masterclass presenters will be there for you at Celebrating Our Soul, Consciously Creating Change at Unity Village this summer. Regular registration ends June 30th, so don't delay. Register today at padntg.com. Sponsorship opportunities are available at padntg.com. Volunteer opportunities are available at padntg.com. Go there now, padntg.com. See you there.
Welcome to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Your hosts are two girls who believe that life is awesome, that laughter heals, and that it's possible to find deep spiritual insights in everyday experience.
Here come the girls. It's more than practical. Here come the girls. Way more than merely factual. If you want to know the secrets of a life that's free, listen to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Listen to Girls Behaving Metaphysically.
And we are back. I am Robyn Rice Olmsted.
And I'm Dr. Natasha Wilson. I realized like my last name isn't on. I should probably put my last name down there, but whatever.
It's very trendy to have one name. It's a bold choice.
I didn't choose Natasha. It was chosen for me.
Okay, that's a whole nother thing about choice. So let's stick with what we left off with. So begin now. Did you have any insights?
I did actually. So I had to really drop into my heart. And what emerged for me when I did was begin again now. Take your first step. Because for me, for much of my life on this very interesting place called planet Earth, I've struggled with what we probably call depression, but the way that it manifests itself for me is literally it's through weight. And since my nephew passed away, took his life in November, I've really been struggling to constantly remember the truth of my being, remember the truth of his being, remember who I am, remember the power of what I am. And so this weekend, I really struggled this weekend. And then I don't know, I woke up this morning and I just said, I'm just going to begin again. I'm just going to begin again. And so for me, that means beginning again with being mindful of what I eat, being mindful of how much I eat, being mindful of my physical movements, being mindful of when I need to take a break, being mindful when I need to stand and stretch. So it seems like these really small things, but for me, they really add up to helping me remember the truth of my being. And so I just needed to begin again. And I literally began again today on Monday. I just decided it's Monday here. I just decided I'm going to begin again today. And so that's what I did.
Yeah. Well, I feel similar. I mean, I hear you with the begin again. And, on some level, I feel like we're always beginning again. And so for me, just begin now really is, it's for me, begin now takes all of the, whatever comes with the again, and maybe nothing does. I'm not saying for you, but I'm just saying, if I think I'm beginning again, it probably means at some point haven't done it the way I wanted it to be, or I failed, or it could have been different. And so for me, taking out the again, just going begin now, it's really just taking a bold step forward. And I mean, because I was thinking about it, take the first step, and I was like, you only take the first step once on some level. And then I'm like, is that the truth? We take the first step towards our goals all the time, So, yeah, for that reason,
it's interesting.
The now to me just makes it in this moment, the only moment that there is.
Yeah.
Begin now, and let go of all the rest of the stuff.
Yeah. There's also something about the begin now, and that there really is only now, that still makes every step when I remember, it does sort of make it a first step, because it's a sort of new iteration of myself. Even though I'm saying I'm beginning again, usually when I come back to remembering who I am, when I sort of come through bits of the grief, bits of what we call depression, and I'm being very mindful what we call depression, when I come through it and I remember who I am, I'm coming through it with some different or some new jewel or thing that I've sort of learned or remembered in a soul way. And so in some ways it really is a first step, because it's a sort of new iteration of who I am right now. So so when I hear the card, I feel like the card is for me, it's affirmation of what I decided this very morning. I was I'm beginning again, a first step, this iteration of this being called Natasha.
Right. And I would also add to that, what comes up for me when you say that is that on some level, I think I'm going to say what you said, but in a different way. On some level, it is the first step.
That's right. That's what
we've never been who we are.
We are. That's right.
Yeah. So we're
Absolutely.
taking new things into it. Yeah. So that's pretty cool insight. I mean, because I don't think, I mean, I'm always about, there's only now and da 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 da, but I haven't really broken it down like that, I can't do it the same way,
Yeah,
because I'm a different person.
that's right. Yeah, there's something really powerful about that too. I'm sorry. My mind is now, like I said, I'm not really fast thinking like on my feet, but like once I do get going, I get going. Are you raising your hand?
No, I'm just holding my glasses right here.
Oh, sorry. That totally distracted me. Okay, there's my ADS like squirrel. Sorry. No, I don't remember the hell I'm saying. Sorry.
No, I was just going to read to you from the book. These are the first time I've ever worn reading glasses. I was like, oh,
let's
right.
See.
I've
never seen you with glasses on.
Because it's the first time I've ever, I mean, literally, I don't mean on the show. I mean, I used to buy all these reading glasses because everybody had reading glasses. And so I was like, oh, let me get cute ones. Because everybody's like, oh, you're going to need them. And so now apparently I need them for this book. But so I have all these pairs of reading glasses in different colors and things. I'm totally prepared. So, all right. I'm gonna read you. So yeah, the first part basically says a lot of what we've said, that a new cycle is beginning, and wipe the slate clean and get going. Release familiar routines, stagnant situations, or challenging relationships that no longer support you or empower you. You are at the end of an old cycle and beginning a new and exciting one. Set your sails for new horizons. But then it tells us, here's what the sacred traveler wants you to know. There are times when the traveler needs to separate from family, friends, and acquaintances to enter new places within himself or herself. Sometimes the traveler must go beyond what is familiar in order to be open to transformation and change. Thus, the journey brings a heightened sense of awareness and ignites mindfulness. Sometimes it can feel difficult to take that first step, but unless you do, you'll never know the joy and fulfillment that awaits you. Do it now. In the words of Laozi Tongue, a journey of 1,000 miles must begin with a single step.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And it's interesting. I mean, I think that's true. Sometimes, we do have to let go of situations or family or friends or people that can hold us back. And, and it's interesting when for me, it's interesting when I'm really letting go of somebody because, I guess it's always me, but I'm really letting go of somebody because I'm really just trying to better myself or my situation, as opposed to when someone does something, or, you know what I mean? So there's a situation that provokes that, like, okay, this friendship doesn't work because blah, blah.
Yeah, I'm sitting here like I couldn't help but think about, there comes a time where you have to leave family and sometimes you land on the other side of the world, quite literally, right? Because like there's sacred travel, and there's the representation of that in the physical realm. And I feel like I've always been a traveler. I felt like early in life, we mentioned earlier that I'm from New Orleans. I was born and raised there, but very early in life, I had a sense that I was going to need to leave. I don't know why. And so I've traveled or lived somewhere other than New Orleans from the time I could. And I don't know. There's something about that I that when you read it, that was activating that in me. As much as I love my family, I knew also that there were certain certain patterns in my family, certain cycles that I just really wanted to interrupt, to change something. And there was some component of it for me that involved actual travel and like really experiencing what it is to really be like an earthling, like a global citizen, like a person who is from Earth, you know, and not just this one, you know, this
one part of the world.
One part of the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I always I feel like I've always had that feeling, that calling in me to be a, you know, I guess a global citizen. But for me, in my woo-woo-ness, global citizen sounds very like geopolitical and great. However, the woo-woo part of me is just like, I'm an earthling. So wherever my feet land, it's home. And how can I live that?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which on the one hand, I mean, to me, I totally get it. And to me, on the one hand, that seems really woo-woo on one level. And on another level, like I was just listening to what you're saying about, like, you know, when you decided to leave home and how you decided to leave home and no, you know, and because I was thinking about the premise of our show, which is, you know, a lot of people will say, well, that's not spiritual. That's not how you do it. You know, well, that can't be spiritual. You know, whenever anything comes up that's uncomfortable, sometimes people like to say that's not spiritual. And so I was listening to that thinking, wow, what must your family have thought? What must people have thought? Did they understand? Did they not understand? And how that is spiritual, you know, I mean, that taking care of yourself is a spiritual act, you know, even if it's not uncomfortable for everybody. I mean, not comfortable for everybody else, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting because I had a conversation with my brother a couple years ago. I don't know, as the therapist in the family, I've dragged my entire family into therapy from time to time. And I remember one time in therapy, my brother said to me that he had been holding these feelings of resentment towards me for a really long time because I left home. And I had no idea. I just had no idea, but it would play out in our interactions from time to time. And I would never be like, what is up with this dude? You know, like, yeah. And then that came up, you know, and so it's interesting, you know, because not only did I leave home, I never really went back. I went back for a short amount of time after Hurricane Katrina, but yeah, it's interesting.
Well, it is interesting, and like even in situations like that, you know, where people aren't really. I mean, there's that whole piece of how he feels about what you did and how you did it and all that thing. And then there's all the different dynamics of that, right? I mean, not saying your brother, but, you know, sometimes people are jealous that you could do what they couldn't do because they didn't feel like they could leave the situation. And there you are off traveling and doing what you want. You know what I mean? People feel jealous or sometimes they are just mad or, you know what I mean? But there's so many different dynamics to what people bring into the party.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. That's just interesting because I haven't talked to a lot of people. Like there's my brother and my best friend that I've only ever spoke to about the amount of sort of leaving places that I've done. And my best friend shared with me at one point that she had a lot of grief, but that it came out as anger when I told her I was on the one hand, she was excited and she really wanted to like support me and help me and do all the Natasha things but on the other hand, she was really feeling grief. And I feel like sometimes these were just insights, you know, that's just made me think a lot differently about what it means to be, I don't know, I guess a soul traveler, whatever it is. Yeah, I never even think about the jealousy part. I don't know why, but definitely like the grief and, you know, some resentment, or it's just interesting. Yeah. What about you? Like, because you're kind of a globetrotter yourself.
Yeah, yeah, and I was, when you were talking about, you wanted to feel part of the globe. I think I've always felt, I've always felt like that. But I also feel like when I get somewhere, I just feel like I'm home. I don't feel,
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter where it is. For the most part, there's something there that resonates for me. So, so yeah, I think it, yeah, that's that. That's what about being, I feel like you do. I love finding out, about new cultures and new places. And I was thinking the other day when I was listening to some newscaster or something, or watching a movie, and they were talking about, some remote places, like, and I never heard of them. And I'm like, God, there's so many places in the world that we've never heard of. Like, it's so infinite, and that, like, and they're like, people in this little village and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, wow, we like, it's almost like buzzwords when, we hear the Ukraine or, Ghana or places, like big places that are in the news. And then there's these other places that we never hear about. And yet,
yeah, and they got people want to go live on Mars. I'm like, okay, I don't get well. Although I must say, just for a little pop culture tidbit about this, so I never heard of this show, The Ultimatum. Have you heard of this show?
Yeah,
on Netflix, where people give their partners the ultimatum to get married, or they're going to leave them. Yeah. Okay. So I've just discovered this show. Okay. This is what I binge watched in my depression this weekend. I binge watched the show. And so I binge watched The Ultimatum South Africa. Oh my God. Now I want to go visit South Africa. I've never been. Have you been to South Africa?
I haven't, but one of my closest friends was from there. Well, a couple.
Oh my God. The men are fine. The men are fine. The men are fine. I want to go to South Africa, okay? Sorry.
That's okay.
No, I'm not sorry. Because that's the only reason I wanted to go to New Zealand, because of those, like the images I've seen of those Maori men doing the haka. Woo. Woo.
All righty. No, it's all good reasons.
Sometimes it's deeply spiritual, and other times it's like, woo.
Other times it's deeply spiritual. There's no way to explain that. Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's how I feel. Like, ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. It's funny.
Gather yourself.
Well, no, I'm just thinking about all the things that are going through my head. Mostly watching our producer down there in the little box. So, yeah. So I get it. Living on Mars, it's like, really, there's so many places here we could start.
Seriously, there's so many. So this earth is so beautiful, so beautiful. Robyn, I know it's not like a part of our format, but I'm so curious about the Wayne Dyer cards. Do you mind pulling one from there too?
Sure. Okay. There
right
is
now,
no format. There is no format.
Right,
huh?
What? I got the haka in my head, so please.
I said there's no format. We're free flowing here, and If you don't tell them it's not in our format, they're not tracking. They're just having a good time with us. All right,
Okay,
are you
good.
ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here it is. Oh, it's a big one. Okay, it says, I look for the meaning of life within myself.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I'll read you the other side of it
Mm-hmm.
before we talk about it. It says,
Okay.
if you want to find a deeper meaning in your life, you can't find it in the opinions or the beliefs that have been handed to you. You have to go to that place within yourself. Yep.
Hmm.
Are you having a thought?
I am having a thought. I really okay. I'm just gonna get this thought out of my way because it's kind of like the squirrel. I just need to get it out of my way. But I'm thinking about that book about the woman who traveled the whole world, sort of like trying to remember a sense of who she is. It was like Eat, Pray, Sex.
Eat, pray, love.
Oh, Eat, Pray, Love. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Like for some,
Yes, it's a one half dozen of another. Got it.
Yeah, so anyways, and she fell in love while she was traveling. Anyways, that's what was in my head because I was talking about how fine those men were in South Africa, and then I was talking about the Hakam, in New Zealand, and I just needed it to get out of my head. Now
Okay.
it's out of my head. Now I can think about the meaning of life. Okay, go ahead.
Well, you cleared your head.
I am.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that this is very true. In terms of it's such an interesting journey because we spend our life being taught and looking towards others for teachers, and from the time we're young, learning from our parents and outside sources, and then we get to a certain stage where we're like, it's all within. It's like, what? But I mean, I guess somehow the foundation has been laid, and I think, it's very true. Like, you can't go on the opinions of others because you have to go with the truth of who you are, and that has to be something in your core on some level, or something you can get back to.
Give an example of that, Robyn. I'm just curious, like within your own life.
I have to think about that. But you can talk while I'm thinking.
No, I was giving you some space. I thought maybe you were going to say something, but one of the things that came up for me. So, I see there's my therapist in her office. She has this little saying, but she doesn't have underneath who says it. But I feel like it's a Buddhist saying, but don't quote me if that's not the case. But it says, it goes something to the extent of, don't ever be lonely. The entire universe is inside of you. And so this sense of looking for the meaning of life, and we turn to the outward expression of the universe, and yet we are a microcosm of the universe all the time, right? And so all that there is to explore, that is this microcosm, that is the universe right here. And so even just linking that up to what we were talking about before, like the sacred travel, I mean, the degrees to which we could travel internally, and the degrees to which we can discover things about ourselves internally, I feel are infinite, which is why every time we actually do begin again now, it is kind of a new discovery, because we are this we are an expression of infinity, of the infinite nature of existence. So when I think about the card, look for the meaning of life within. Like, where else is there, really? Because every time we look out there, it's bringing us back here. I was telling someone recently, or I don't know if I was telling, but like we were talking about how relationships are like, all relationships are like a mirror, bringing, like having us to come back to ourselves in some sort of way, to look at something within ourselves. And particularly those things that we don't quote unquote like about people, they tend to be places within us that really need like love and attention. And so there's just this constant truism that nothing is actually happening out there that's not happening in here. So everything we see out there in terms of politics, everything we see out there in terms of everything, it's all happening in here somewhere.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyways, these are the things that are
but I
going
think
through
that's
my mind right now.
No, I think that's totally true. I mean, and I think that's, I know when I have clients, it's so interesting to listen to what they have to say and also watch, my thoughts and my feelings and, what comes up for me. And like often I have people saying to me, you're so zen, you're so, and it's really like, how do we keep those thoughts and those, or, how have we healed those spaces in order to be able to, for lack of a better word right now, I'm just going to say like get to neutral, to where you're not charged or triggered by certain things. And I think, like you're saying, sometimes we have to do the healing work that's there to be done when we, see those things. So I would say, going back to your question, I would say what the thought that came to me is when I was in 4th grade and I was doing an art project in art class, and we were making paper mache, and I made a paper mache hippo that I was very proud of. And I took it up to my art teacher and I was like, look, her name was Sarge, which should have been my first clue. So I took it up to her and I said, look, and I was so excited. She goes, She goes, it's not as good as Coco and Ronnie's, which were 2 people in the class. And I was like, and I totally I was like, bye-bye. I was done. I was done with art. And, people in my family would try to get me to do art. And I was like, no, I'm good. My mom would be like, in high school, she's like, don't you want to take an art class? I was like, and like they'd been pushing. So finally I took an art class and I got the class to do a play because I was an actor then. But what I knew at some point, not at that particular moment, but at some point along that journey, I didn't let go of the art. I just wasn't going to be an artist. You know what I mean? I was always being creative and doing things. And I knew I was good at what I was doing. And, and I channeled it into acting and I channeled it into other creative places. Would I have been an artist? I don't know. But, in my mind, I was an artist, and today I know I am an artist and I'm able to say that and know that. And sometimes it takes, I do have, I have had in the past up until now, a reaction to art, but I'm fully aware, like I watch it, you know what I mean? It's not like it controls me. I watch, like when I would go to Color Me Mine with all of my friends and they'd be like, which is a pottery place where you color and paint and everything, whatever. And all my friends would be like, this is so great. And they'd paint a teapot and a platter and a this and a that. And they'd be done at the end of the night. And I'd have like this little plate and I'd still be doing like these details because I designed a globe with all the people of the world standing around it. And I'm putting little faces in and I'm totally stressed out, right? I'm like, oh my God, and I don't finish it and I need to go back and, and I realized at some point looking at that, it's like, well, no wonder you don't like art. It's totally stressful for you, because you have to blah, blah, blah. So I knew that whatever that situation was, it became not about me not being an artist, but me knowing that, I don't have to hold those thoughts and that art can be fun and that I don't have to do the most detailed, extravagant program, for someone to go, oh, that's good,
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I also, I've been meaning to tell you that, well, in terms of art, the art that I gravitate towards the most, of course, is like dance. But lately, I've been remembering my internal thespian, because did I tell you that when I was in kindergarten, and I started school early, so I was like 4 years old, I played the leading role in our kindergarten production that had to do with like dental hygiene.
Ooh.
I did. My mom. I have to. At some point, we have to invite my mom on here because my mom tells the story the best. But I had like standing ovations. Like I was the cavity, and the cavity was like a wicked like, and I like played that part so well, and I was just like, I'm gonna be an actor. And I didn't, of course, but I've always loved that particular art. So now I'm thinking about like maybe, because even though I'm a globetrotter, I am sort of putting some roots down because I have these beautiful children that I can't globetrot with. And so, yeah, besides taking a samba class, I've been really thinking about getting into community theater because,
fun.
Yeah, I know, like, why not? All these different ways of expressing. And I feel like something about that particular art, and you could probably say a lot about being an actor, that when we tap into the different characters and narratives and the emotions that come along with their narratives, there's something to discover about the meaning of life in like each one of them. Like I could get so deep around being a cavity even when I was a kid.
Right.
It's intense. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead, because I'm about to go off on a tangent about that. So
no, I think that's true. I think that, and I think there's something to be found in all of those things. I think that I think every time we dive into something, we discover a different piece of ourselves.
Yeah, I'm telling you, playing that part in kindergarten really was one of the first times I started thinking about this concept called balance. Like seriously, because it was like, it wasn't about like never having candy or sugar. It was about having too much candy or sugar, right? Like, and brushing.
Yeah.
I discovered the meaning of life in my kindergarten play. Balance.
Damn. Yeah, that's good. If only every child could play the cavity, a better world we would have.
We would have. Could you imagine? Oh my God. I'm telling you, you have to think about, my mom still talks about me playing the cavity. She was like, me and your dad were like, who is that?
Well, that's a whole nother thing. I mean, I remember the times when my mom or my parents came to a show, like the first few shows they saw me in or at different stages. And they were like, I remember one in high school, like one of the first ones there. And they were like, oh my God. And I think I had 2 lines or something. I don't know. They're like, you stole the show. I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, because of course, at that stage, you're going, no, they were the lead and they did this and they did that. I just had 2 lines. They're like, oh no, you were so focused and you had your hat on backwards. And you did this and you did that. Like all these little things that I had no idea I was doing, but I was like, okay. She goes, people couldn't stop looking at you. Like, okay. But it's like, you really do like just, there's just something about it all that you discover. And it's like, it makes me think of, I teach a writing class called Your Story Matters. And I take them through all these different things and they write a piece. And at the end of the class, they perform it. And generally there's nobody in there that's a performer. They're just people that thought they'd take a little writing class and see what happened. But to see people tell their story, whatever it is, I mean, from something totally moving to even like stories about how somebody who ran a marathon in Hawaii and how they had to ice their body afterwards, or, just somebody who got their tree got cut down in the front of their yard and they were so sad about it. But just the words and the emotions that people have about, I mean, it's not even about the thing. It's more that they share with the world. And then to speak that, it's a whole different experience.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Right.
So it sort of goes back to, what was our first card?
Begin. Well, I said begin again now, but it's begin now.
Yeah, begin now. I mean, it kind of goes back to that because I think in each of those situations, it's a new beginning. It was a new beginning for you to be the cavity, and it was a new beginning for your parents to see you.
But even that, when I said I was talking about begin again now, and how for me that usually is manifested in like being mindful about how I eat and what I eat and how much I eat and blah, 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 blah. But that being the cavity was my first time that I can remember consciously in life becoming aware of this thing called balance, which is what I was talking about earlier. Like, so when I become aware of what I eat and how much, it's about balance. And so in some ways it is all connected. It's all connected. It all comes full circle. And yet it's still somehow the first step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's the same for me. I think my 4th grade teacher, Sarge, that was my first experience with a teacher like telling me it's not as good as so-and-so's and so-and-so's, because it was like, what do you mean? And even being aware that they were judging, that there was a competition. I don't know that I was trying to be as good as Coco and Ronnie's. I just knew mine was damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so, that just goes to like the power of our words, right? I'm sure like if she was around today, that she would probably have had some realization around her words and who she was. Because I think she really lived into her name, Sarge. I think she was, in the military at some point, right? And I think she really felt like she had to be that tough, whatever. And all that said, she was this blonde woman with that kind of, I don't know what it was, 60s or whatever hair, with like the big hair with the flip kind of, look. She was very big. She was bigger than life kind of thing. And she was an attractive woman, but she was big. She's scary, in her bigness. But anyway, enough about Sarge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I
mean,
I
and
think
I
if that were happening now, she probably really wouldn't be, because like my kids, like everything is so different in some ways generationally too. Like you should hear the school bell that my children have. Like, you remember how, I don't know about you, you had a school bell that like rang and was like, like God bless those of us who had like sensitivities. I can't even think of the word I'm looking for right now. But like their bell is soft, playful music. That's it. Actually, the music, speaking of South African, it sounds like South African music, but to this really light melody. That's their bell. And everybody's so soft and gentle at the school. It's just so interesting to think about a teacher named Sarge versus like what my daughters have now.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a different awareness. It's definitely a different time we're living in, and that's great, And I think it speaks to the power of change,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think begin now, and
take your first step.
Take your first step and look within. The meaning of your life is within you. Look within, and then take your first step, or take your first step and look within. Do it in any order you want. Just do it.
It works in any order. Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Well, it's been a lively conversation. There's a lot there, a lot to still think about. But the important thing is that whatever you're doing, do it full out, play full out.
Yes.
And we'll see you next week.
Yes. And if anybody out there want to go on a girls' trip to New Zealand or South Africa, reach out to you, girl. Peace and blessings.
All right. See y'all next week, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment. Inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.